Hello, welcome back to one of my videos. We are working on the Squiggly Squad octopus, and this is the third video now. The first one was the white, which was the body or the head. The second part was the bottom, the blue, which I call the disc. So we have now a complete circle. Our next task is to build a wall here. I call it a wall. It's basically a row of single crochet going in the round. And then we're going to add the tentacles to those single crochets. I need to have 15 single crochet. I know that I have a few more than 15. So just to check, I'm going to be counting them. I place a marker and then I'll be counting around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I have 18 and I need 15. So I will be decreasing in 3 different places. So when I come back there, I'll have 15 single crochets. This is what it's going to look like when we attach the octopus legs. We will be working in every second single crochet, and we'll be anchoring the middle of the tentacle into those ones there. So that's why we have a count of 15, because we start and we end on the same single crochet. Here's the pattern, page 2. So we're starting by making what I call a tentacle wall. So I'm going to slip knot the new yarn onto my 2.5 millimeter hook. And I'll need 15V for the tentacles. So I counted how many and decreased to get 15. So I counted, we had 18. Working in single crochet US terms. Row 1, single crochet around on front of the V, because we created that, the front, and decrease if necessary to get 15. These are the front. It's what's left after we worked in a spiral. I have my yarn here. I'm working in the same color. Start with a slip knot. This does not have to be long. It'll be worked away. I have my slip knot. I can start anywhere. I'm not going to start where that spiral joins, because I'd rather work straight over that. So I'm going to start somewhere else. Go in, fetch the yarn, come out. And now I have slip knotted the first stitch into place. Remember, I need to decrease in 3 different places. But let me just get away from that slip knot. Made 3 single crochet. And now I'm going to decrease. So I'll go in, fetch the yarn, pull it through, go in, fetch the yarn, and pull it through. Let me zoom in. Position myself. And I fetch the yarn and pull it through all 3. Going to make 2 more single crochets without decreasing. Then I'm going to decrease. Now be careful. I mustn't work on the inner circle. I must work on the outer one. So let's make sure that I'm going in the right place. What I'll do is I'll just make 1 more to get over that little bump. It's tricky to get him. If you have access to a smaller hook, which I do. So 2 more. Hopefully it'll be small enough. Yes. Okay. Complete my single crochet. was so busy with that, I didn't even count how many I've decreased. I've decreased once. Perfect. Okay. We'll decrease again then while we're here. Making sure that I catch each one. Go in, decrease. Make 3 single crochet. It is tricky to see where the V's are. Well, I should say the front bar of the V. Made 3 single crochet. I'll decrease again. Now I have a few left. When we get to the end, we'll just count, see what we have. I still have one more to work into, which I'm obliged to do. Otherwise I'm going to have a hole. Now there's no stuffing that's going to come through here, but I want it to be neat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch it into place. Then I can count. I don't want to slip stitch it into that slip knot, so I'm going to jump over that. I'm going to slip stitch it in here, and then I'm going to count just to know that I have 15. Count backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and there's my 15th one. 15. I'm happy with that. That's all I really need to start my tentacles. I mean, it's not a fatal error if you have 14 or 16, but then you're going to have to adapt. And I'd rather just start off with my 15. Now we can start the tentacles. What I will do, just because it's easier, this guy's just going to bother me otherwise, I'm going to work away this tail. He's out of the way. Maybe use a larger darning needle. For some reason or other, that tip is messy. Could always cut it. I don't want to cut it too short. Put my finger inside and just that slip knot there. Take them to the other side of the wall. Unravel the plies a little bit. This is a sharp needle, so I can really break into the, it's not super sharp, but it's not blunt either. And just break into the stitches. And what will happen is different fibers on the yarn will catch each other. Really keep it in place. I do like to work my tails away properly. It's surprising how things do come unraveled, and then your toy is damaged because he's come unraveled because your tail was not long enough or it wasn't worked in properly. Cut that off. So now that one's out of the way, we'll be using a sock just now to keep all of this out of the way. But for now, this is good enough. We are going to be making the first tentacle. The way I do it, if you want to just chain 40 stitches, then go ahead. I basically create a row in the same way that I cast on earlier on. So tentacles, using a 3mm knitting needle and a 2.5mm hook. I'm using the yarn from the wall. I'm casting on 40 loops. You'll see what I mean. So how do I do that? I chain one, and then I push the needle into this chain stitch, and I make 40 loops. Then, working backwards into the loops, I make 2 single crochets per loop. The last 3 loops only, right at the base here, I make 1 single crochet in each loop. Then at the end, I slip stitch into the next V, and then I slip stitch into the next V. You'll see how I do that. Then I start again. Chain 1, push needle into chain, and make next tentacles. Continue until 8 tentacles are made, cut tail, and then you work into the base of the first tentacle. The first tentacle's chain 1, which is in here. And your tentacles will be complete. So let's see where we are. We have come to the end of our wall. You see, look, it creates a little wall. You can actually get your finger in there. It's a little wall of single crochet. That is where we're going to be building the tentacles. I chain 1. And then I pick up my 3mm needle. I use a short one simply because I'm sitting at a desk, and if it's too long, it bumps into the table. Use what you have. I place it into that loop there. Now the other loop is on the crochet hook. And if you watch the first video, you will have seen me do this. So it's yarn to the back, hook to the front. Go and fetch the yarn, bring it through. Yarn to the back, hook to the front, fetch the yarn, bring it through. Yarn to the back, hook to the front, fetch the yarn, bring it through. Yarn to the back, hook to the front, 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 yarn to the back, hook to the front. And I continue until I have a count of 40. If you want your tentacles to be longer or shorter, then you would add or decrease the amount of loops. Also, if you are using a thicker knitting needle and a larger hook, your tentacles will look different and feel different. As these are destined for babies, all of this is worked tightly. If you're making it for a larger child, or you're simply making it for decoration purposes, maybe you want to suspend it or whatever it might be, you can use a larger hook, a larger knitting needle, and your tentacles will look and feel quite different. These tentacles are very specifically been made for babies so that they can grip onto them and hold onto them. But they have little tiny fingers, and I don't want those little fingers to be caught in the loops. See how tight that is? There's already a little hole there, but don't want your baby fingers to get caught in there. And they are bouncy enough, so I'm happy with that. But you can play around. As I said, if you're making it for another purpose, if you're making it for an elderly person, because these are Also, they're called twiddle toys or fidget toys. These little octopus tentacles and octopus. Then you can make it much softer. Don't need to make all of this so tight. Let's count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. 2, 4, 6, 8, 40. And we take 4 off. It's not an exact science. If you have 1 or 2 more or 1 or 2 less, it's fine. You can even have tentacles. Some of them might be 40, some might be 41, some might be 39. So here at the end, you can chain 1. I'd forgotten to write that in my pattern. Chain 1. It's just to help you turn. You're going into the loop, which is still on the knitting needle, and you're going to single crochet 1, US terms. What happens is it falls off the needle as you do that first single crochet. You're going back into the loop and you're single crocheting again. Your other hand is holding all of these loops on the needle. You go in, you single crochet, and then you go back in and you single crochet. Go in, single crochet, go back in, and you single crochet. And then as you do this, it will create a twirl. I do love this rather than having a chain. The little loops are sitting so nicely on the knitting needle, waiting to be worked in. Unlike a chain which twists in all directions and deforms as you work, and also with a chain, to get them to be even so they all are the same size is very hard. It takes me approximately 10 minutes to do 1 tentacle. If I work without stopping, I can manage to make all 8 tentacles in about an hour. In another video, but I think I was working on 35 loops and not 40 loops in that video, if I can remember clearly. It's quite hypnotic, the repetition. The brain starts to work on automatic. This is the perfect time to be listening to a podcast, audiobook. You really don't have to think about what you're doing. Automatic memory takes over. When I come to the end, the last few stitches, I prefer to work one single crochet into each loop. If you are making a jellyfish, the jellyfish one works to the first 2/3, the first half, or even the first third, depending on the effect of the jellyfish. You work 2 single crochets per loop, and then you only work 1. And it gives a straight section to the jellyfish's legs. I like these last few, I like to work 1 single crochet, because then there isn't too much of a tangle right next to the body. So here I've come down to the last 3. And also one has to be careful because they tend to jump off the needle. 1, 2, 3. Now you decide which direction you're going in. Be careful it's not too twisted up. So try and find the way it's supposed to lie naturally, which is in this direction. There are 2 V's there. So I'm holding this on here so that you can see. But there are 2 V's we're going to be working into. On our disc here, you can see where the tentacle is, but it's anchored on there, and then the next tentacle is started there. So we started the tentacle on that V. We're going to anchor it onto that V, and then the next tentacle is going to start there. So the way that I anchor it, and this of course is because it's small babies, probably not necessary if you have it for an adult. So that final one there, I go and fetch the loop for there, but I don't finish that single crochet. I am going to be going into this V, fetching the yarn. This next V will be for the next tentacle. I fetch the yarn, and then I'm going to pull it all the way through, fetch the yarn again and pull it all the way through. That is anchoring it, you see? And then I go into the next one, and I slip stitch it in like that. It also fills up any sort of gap you could have, because it can create a gap here. Now the gap is nicely filled up. So I've slip stitched it. You know it's a slip stitch because you can see it hasn't gone around. If it was a single crochet, it would actually be wrapped around this V here. So I've slip stitched it into place. But to create my first tentacle and to be able to get my knitting needle in, I need another loop. So I'm going to go and fetch the yarn. And now you can see it's wrapped over that V. And it's created the loop for my knitting needle. And so now I've completed one tentacle and I can start the next. And it's exactly the same process. Yarn to the back, hook to the front, yarn to the back, hook to the front, and I will continue like that. And you will do exactly the same thing. Be careful when you come to the base. If you're not concentrating, especially if you're watching TV or you're listening to something, if your work is twisted, you could actually end up working up. It's true, it happens. You could be working up one of the legs, one of the tentacles, instead of working on the base. And then suddenly you'll think, what's going on? And you'll see that your tentacle is literally coming out of the other tentacle. And it's very frustrating because then you've got to pull it out. So do be careful when you come down to the bottom that you're working in the right direction, that your work's not twisted, that you're not working up the leg. And you'll work all the way around. And when you come to the end, if your count of 15 V's, you can see the little V's here. If it was correct, when you come to the end, you'll be working into this last V here. You'll be cutting your yarn and you'll be attaching it there. Now, because I do not want to have to go into the editing software, I am literally going to say, this is the end for now. This is what it will look like when you're finished. You'll have worked all of your legs. You will come back to where you started. So hypothetically, if it was here, you would have come back to where you started. You will cut your yarn and you will basically loop it around the base of the beginning, and you'll work your yarns away. It's as simple as that. And that's the result you will have when you're finished. I'll be seeing you in the next video. And when I start the next video, which will be the stuffing in the eyes, I will finish that last little touch there, just so that we can do that together. But I'm not going to sit here for an hour doing this because it's totally unnecessary. All you have to do is, if you don't know how to do it, just rewind the video slightly to the beginning of this tentacle and make the next one. You need to repeat it 8 times. And we will see each other in the next video when I've come to the end and I'm working away that tail. Okay, so we'll see you then. If it's not tonight, it'll be tomorrow. Bye for now.